Hey everyone, how are we doing? Hopefully you are all good. So wanted to just bring you a little bit of a presentation. Obviously, you've seen the testing that we're doing with our ultimate off-season guys and a few other VIPs that have come to the unit. And it's been really interesting because I've always suspected what I thought would be key indicators of someone who could bowl quick for someone who's not bowling as quick. And a lot of the things have really been bared out and it's been interesting. So we thought we'd just take a little bit of a dive into it. Okay. Um, so a bit of the background is testing. There's so much fitness testing and in the pro game as well, we had to do testing all the time. But it used to really get to me because I was like, right, why are we doing this? What's the reason behind us doing this? Is it a box ticking thing, or are we actually putting some, KPIs in place to say, if someone's going to bowl 85 miles an hour, these are the commonalities within that. And I never saw that. All I saw was, an organization who just wanted to tick some boxes and almost and punish some players as well. And we always saw coaches punish the players who made, well, the ones they wanted to drop to be able to have some sort of reason to drop them is what we saw. But, for me, fitness testing should be doing one of two things, helping us to understand how to increase someone's pace or building the body to keep them robust and away from injury. That's the two. If we're not doing one of those two things, and for me, they're both the same because we want to see the same things and the same positions in building pace as we do for robust action that's going to keep us away from injury. Okay, very, very similar things. So, what were the goals? The goals is what is the best practice? What's the best practice, and what are the results and the indicators that will tell us? How far away would the normal player be? So the non-professional, what really would be the things that we could say you get this right and you turn a dial? And then how do we get there? Which is an important thing. Obviously, knowing's great, but we also want to be able to get there as well, which is, pretty vital. There's no point us knowing where the journey is without understanding how to set the sat nav to get there. The problems that we're finding, generic testing. It's crazy. Did what we're seeing in jumping, an aerobic capacity run, a sprint. What is that telling you? What is that telling you? And even sort of during my last couple of years, we saw a little bit more movement testing come in, but very generic. So the lunge or the squat. And so what would happen is if you didn't pass your squat, they just gave you loads of squats to do. If you didn't pass the lunge, you suddenly got loads of lunges. And this to me was never getting near what we needed to be. And like I said, it's only really in one field, that sort of capacity field. So it's like, understanding how fast a car can go without understanding the engine behind it. And a lot of the time we know that no one was understanding the engine. So it was just, well, we need to make it bigger, 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 bigger without understanding sort of reasons behind it if it was actually going to work, because it's pretty key to know if something's going to work or not. And then, what does the best look like? Do we know? Is anyone actually taken the 10 quickest bowlers in the world and seeing what are the commonalities in there? What are the metrics that we can see that actually help take someone forward? Because I would put a lot of money on the top 10 fastest bowlers in the world not being the quickest over 20-meter sprints, not being the ones who could do a counter movement jump the highest, not being the ones with the best yo-yo score. Some of them might not have the best body composition, as in the skin folds, but they bowl quick. So it's like, how do we dial in on that? How do we actually find those things which we can say, right, this will help you, if we know we can take this metric up, this will help us bowl quicker. Okay. So, we looked at a number of the testing outcomes and started to see some patterns. And it was just really interesting. The more and more we were testing, the more these things were bearing out. And it was literally like a big slap in the face. And it was, I remember talking to Gav about it in sort of my synopsis thing is saying, I think if we see X, Y, and Z, we'd see someone get quicker, because all our testing was based on, we sat through one afternoon, went through the action in all the different parts of the action, said, right, what do we want to know is going on at the,
I would like
can we mute up? What do we want to know is going on at the body at each stage, okay? At each stage of the action, and how do we test it so that we know? And that's how we came to our whole sort of battery of testing that, like I said, we do with the VIP days and we do with the Ultimate Winter guys. So what I'm going to do now is just go into those tests that we're seeing there's a difference in. Okay, so to start with, we've got the single leg calf press. So we see young Josh here. So he's basically doing a single leg press, pushing up, and we're seeing how much force you can put through the floor. So this is an expression of strength. Now, we're taking a mean score of 10 guys who've done this test, and their mean output was on their back foot contact. So that's the one I was really interested in, back foot contact. So they were all right arm bowlers, mean score of 80.81 kilograms of force they were able to put through the floor. We had our England player in, who was one of the quickest on average in the county last year. He was able to put 134.84, so 50% more. And let me preface this a little bit by saying this isn't a lifter. Okay, this is not about lifting. I imagine if we just had a barbell there and we're doing a single leg calf raise with either a barbell or dumbbells, that England player wouldn't have been top. They definitely wouldn't have been 50% more. Definitely not. Okay. So that was very, very interesting. To see that sort of difference is huge. Is absolutely huge. And again, he's not a big guy by no means. Josh here is a lot bigger than the England player. So that was number one. So that's like, how much strength can you put through the floor and accept? And he was a lot more. Then can you turn that into power? So we've got the single leg drop here. And with the single leg drop jump, what we've got is we're looking at the height, we're looking at the contact time, then we're looking at the RSI, which is reactive strength index score. So all those together, you put the height and the contact time together, you get the RSI. So the RSI is a score we want to be fairly high. So double leg, we want it to be 1.2 to 1.6. Now, the England player was 1.8 on double leg, but the single leg was really the one that I want to dive into, because on back foot contact, this is what we're looking at. So how much force can you put through, but then can you use it? How's your co-contraction? How are you using that lower limb? So we look at the difference in height. In the mean average of the other guys, 14.4 centimeters in height, they were jumping. And for the England player, 27.3. So big difference. Interestingly, contact time on average was a little bit quicker with the other guys. But when you look at that difference in height, that's the big indicator. So the RSI was 0.58 compared with the England player who was 0.78. So not only was he 50% more force he could produce, he could then use it to transition to power so much more effectively. Jump height again is over 50% more. RSI about 25, 30% more. So this was really interesting. And I don't think he's been training this lately. But the difference is vast. Okay. And it should be quite exciting as well to think right now we're sort of getting on the road to knowing how the training should be looking and what things we should be looking at to really gain pace. And then we looked at arm speed as well. So his top velocity with a normal ball was 14.41 meters per second, which is pretty rapid. With the heavy ball, 13.33, again, was pretty rapid. Top speed with the normal ball was 54 miles an hour. I'm pretty sure that's the top speed we've had, and we've done about 35 bowlers now. That was a top speed. Now, not by much. With the heavy ball, he was hitting 50. I think that the quickest we had before this was 51. So it just shows it's not a million miles away in pace we're half needing when we're just almost isolating the bowling arm. It's how efficient that player is then with the rest of their action, how efficient they are with their body. Those are the things that separate. And hopefully, you can see here, this is like, okay, so now once we know the body's working well, we know the metrics we can get in and dial into. Whereas I'm sure we take those numbers up, we see a big change in pace potential, a big change. Okay. So this is nothing about sprints, double leg jumps, and yo-yos. This is actually, how is this body working? Okay. So just to give you an indication of total pace, this bowler was averaging 85 miles an hour last season. And when the average pace of the bowlers we've done, I think 20 bowlers in the last 3 months, around about 71. So it's understanding as well that 85 miles an hour with the pocket radar is quick. It's quick. Okay. On TV, that's around 90. So yeah, so conclusions, we need that single leg strength expression. Okay, expression, not just overall strength. How can we use it? How can you accept force? And then have the ability to use that strength for power, as well as working arm speed and the kinetic chain. Okay. So hopefully that all made sense. What I'll do now is open it up for questions.